RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Heads. We're in conjunction with Red Zone Sports, and we're going to look forward to Week 6 action. I'm Kevin Cato. Simon,
the unforgettable
Ham. This is Milham over here, or Millam, or however you want to do it. And Sam Morgan we have over there as well. And we're going to start off with a team that used to be, they call it the AFC or the NFC Central, the black and blue division from back in the day, but now it's the NFC North. The Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings have a long history. This will be the 114th meeting of these teams. The Packers lead at 60-51-2, but you look at it, and it's this thing that's set up where you have the defense of Minnesota against the offense of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get cancelled out. I think the Packers will go on to win that battle. My main thing to look at the moment is who starts at quarterback for the Vikings. I think it's a bit of a mistake bringing in Bradford. I think they must have known he wasn't going to see that through. It was a bad gamble for me on that front. And Keenum, yeah, has been picking up some momentum. I think it'll be interesting to see if they can combat against the defense of the Packers and see if we can make that a bit of a closer game. But for me, that's going to be the Packers again to win that one.
We see the numbers here offensively and defensively for Minnesota and for the Green Bay Packers. But you look at this Green Bay Packers offense, and I mean they're so talented. You see the numbers there as far as scoring 27 points a game. The rush tack, you look at that, and those numbers are not really the numbers, because last week the young boy Sam, who you talked about, came out, Mr. Jones.
I called it, and I hope everyone that does play fantasy did go by what I had to say. I did, and I reaped the rewards from it. But yeah, it was good to see him actually break out and do that. And Ty Montgomery is obviously not someone they are big shoes to fill in that for the running game. And yeah, he's come and done that. And yeah, I think he'll continue to fill those boots.
Exactly. I mean, the matchup I look at this weekend, Kev, is basically Jordy Nelson, who's got a bit of a hamstring problem. He sat out the last series. I mean, he's had 6 touchdowns in the last 5 games. Goes up against Xavier Rhodes, who's been phenomenal this season for the Vikings. I think he held Mike Evans to something like 3 catches for 28 yards a couple of weeks ago. He wasn't even targeted against Chicago. So that's a key matchup for me. How fit is Jordy Nelson? Big red zone threat as well, as we know. So that for me is going to be the interesting thing. Also, it's going to be a tightish game, I think, with Minnesota between these two. 3 points have separated in the last three of the last 5 meetings, something like that. It's another 3-point game. I think the Packers are 3-point favourites for that. It'll be another tight one. I expect Green Bay to go through.
So what does history mean to you when it's a rivalry? The Green Bay Packers have won 11 of the last 15, won 11, lost 3, tied 1 in the last 15 encounters that they have. Does history mean anything to you when you talk about when you have a rivalry type matchup?
I think when you're looking at trends, yeah, because they know each other so well. They play each other a couple of times a year. It's all about the division games. It's all about winning your division games. And you've got to, I presume, I don't know whether this is true, but I presume when you're game planning for these guys, you've got everything laid down anyway, year in, year out. So, I mean, the Packers actually haven't lost back-to-back games in Minnesota since 2008-9, I think it is. So they've lost the last 2. I think trends, if you're a betting guy, I mean, trends would say that Green Bay will come through with this.
Who do you like in this one?
I'm still going to Packers. I think there's a few question marks around the injuries at the Vikings as well. I think Stephon Diggs obviously came off as well, who's a go-to guy. And I think with the breakup with Keenum as well and Bradford, I think we saw like Kyle Rudolph obviously not getting the completions we expected as well from him. So yeah, I think the Packers will edge this one.
Another game is coming up. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who just didn't get it done last week, against the only undefeated team left in the National Football League, Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs coming off of a high-scoring game last week. They survived it against that rookie quarterback, but he put up a lot of numbers. But Ben Roethlisberger last week put up a lot of numbers, but that was to the defensive side that he gave his numbers to. You see the guys coming out and looking for revenge for Ben. Revenge for Ben in this one.
Pains me to watch that. But he just did not. It didn't look interesting enough when he threw that 5th interception, it was just like,
it's game plan, pure and simple. We've said it in his earlier show. Todd Haley's game plans are just so vanilla, and people have worked it out. I mean, you go back to Roethlisberger and what he said afterwards about whether he's still got it, etc., etc. He made waffling noises at the start of the season regarding retirement, and he was thinking about it and all this sort of stuff. Maybe just wanted a bit of love and an arm around him and everything else. But you do wonder whether or not, you know, his strength over the years has been sort of throwing into the blitz, and there's not many quarterbacks that can do it. And I don't care how big and strong you are, over a period of time, you're going to get knocked back.
You know, see, for me, this is the deal. We go Roethlisberger, and that's on the negative.
Yep.
We look at Alex Smith, and people just they just are not want to give this guy the love. Look at his numbers. 11 touchdowns, that 1 interception. He's been sacked 17 times. But, I mean, he's #1 in quarterback rating. But Alex Smith is having an MVP season for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-0, and things are riding high for the Chiefs right now.
Yeah, and their offensive line isn't great, as you said. You know, 17 sacks. He's taken a lot of hits. My point was just basically over an accumulated period. Don't care how big and strong you are. You know, you're going to get hit. You're going to affect you. And I just wonder whether that's actually starting to get to Roethlisberger. But take on board totally what you're saying about Alex Smith. I mean, he's killing. He's versatile. He can get out of the pocket, and he has to because of this offensive line. But the key for this, you know, with Kansas City, they've lost Chris Conley. Now, don't underestimate how difficult that's going to be for them, because he stretches a field. You have to game plan him all the time because of his speed, because of his size. Kareem Hunt's doing it all on his legs at the moment. How long can that last? I don't know. I mean, it's a real difficult. I'm obviously, you know, looking at the form of these two. You know, Pittsburgh beaten by Chicago, beaten by Jacksonville, and they've been beaten badly as well. And Ben hasn't travelled well, as we said this in the previous shows. Pittsburgh can't win on the road. Kansas City will probably roll in this one, I think.
I think they'll continue. I mean, you said about Kareem Hunt, obviously, how long he can go on to do that. I think looking at that graphic, the 17 sacks, when he needs a breather, he knows who he can hand that ball off to. The problem with that is that the defence can go, right, we can target Smith, we can see the numbers, he can get sacked, but you can't just focus on that, because you have got this little guy running up and doing.
Let's
sort
not
of
forget about Tyreek. Don't forget.
Yeah, of course. So you know, at the moment, these guys, there's weapons there. We keep mentioning weapons. There are a lot of weapons there within sort of the Tampa Bay, and I think Kansas Chiefs. So for me, it's about, right, okay, too many problems to try and actually counter, and Pittsburgh, just for me, are just not looking at the complete picture.
There's just one real good matchup in that one I just want to talk about. Marcus Peters against Antonio Brown. I mean, Marcus Peters has shut down virtually everybody this year. I mean, he's basically had 18 turnovers in 36 games for them. That's a real fascinating matchup for me in this one.
I don't see him shutting down Antonio Brown. I see him maybe having a competent game. Antonio Brown is a bad man too now. You know, let's not forget about that. So but you know, the other thing for me, when you look at that Kansas City team, let's not forget the guy at the tight end position who was playing tremendous football. Travis Kelce is playing tremendous football for that squad. You know, and that's an outlet that, you know, when you talk about Hunt, you talk about Tyreek, you know, but also let's not forget about Travis, who's that guy who's playing nice football.
He was in concussion protocol at the end of the game, though. So I don't know whether he's questionable. Haven't seen the injury reports yet, but chances are he could well be questionable for this.
With these injuries and question marks over the players, it's probably the better team to be coming up against is the Steelers, though, right now. I think if you were coming up against a team, an informed team, you'd probably have a few question marks. I think right now I still see Kansas going on.
The one thing that this season has shown me about the National Football League is that last week don't mean a thing. You know, that is the one thing that is shown me. You know, you go like, you know, you build stuff up, man. They were terrible last week, and then the next week you come up and you go, wow, you know, this is you know, I mean, one team for instance would be the Baltimore Ravens. You know, being here, how terrible one. Now they've kind of, you know, responded. So, you know, for me last week, I'm gonna go completely opposite you guys. I think that the guys from the Pittsburgh Steelers will step up, and I think one thing that was shown, you know, you lose your safety with the Kansas City Chiefs. One thing was shown was that rookie quarterback got those guys in the end zone a lot for the Houston Texans. you know. And I think when you talk about who do Houston Texans have, and now you're talking about, remember you keep
Next
talking
man
about,
up.
you talking about Le'Veon Bell, you're talking about Mr. Brown, Martavius Bryant. You know, you got players there. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than what people look at, especially if you look at and say, you know, what happened last week. National Football League, you can't look back at last week. It's got to be all about now and in the present.
It's a 4-point game as far as the book goes. They've got Kansas City as 4-point favourites, and you may be right. It might be a 3-point game, but I'd still take Kansas City.
Okay, no question about it. But I know one game that you will not be taking the visitors is the New York Giants against the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos coming off a bye. New York Giants 0-5, one of 3 teams in the National Football League who have not won a game. But the Denver Broncos, you know, you look at them and, I mean, not a great team, solid defense. Trevor Siemian at the quarterback is doing a decent job, but Anderson at the running back is the key player for that rushing game, averaging 143 yards an hour. And look at the New York Giants. They cannot run the ball. They can't score points. They got injury problems. I mean,
that's an understatement.
It'd be cheaper for them just to stay at home and call it, give it a forfeit, huh?
Exactly. I mean, they've lost their last 3 trips to Denver as well by double-digit points. I think it's going to be a 4th. They've got no receivers. They've signed, you know, Travis Rudolph and Tavares King from the practice squad to become receivers to the active roster. They've got nobody. And you've Eli Manning going against Aqib Talib and Roby, the no-fly zone. It's a horror show.
What's your thoughts on this Denver Bronco team? C.J. Anderson, you know, doing a nice job of running the football, maybe having a career year for Anderson. But, you know, you look at them when, you know, Trevor Siemian, he does enough to be successful, but the key for them is their defense, in which when they won the Super Bowl, it was about their defense, you know, and Peyton, don't mess up, just, you know, and that's what Trevor Siemian seems to be jumping into that void there.
What a mould to follow, though. And I think they probably had that whisper in his ear at the start. You know, this is why we were successful. You know, you can always rely on the defense, so just play simple, don't take the major risks. And he's got that level head about him, and that you don't get that in a young rookie sometimes. So I think that's you get with experience. So if he's had that whispered in his ear and he's following that point by point, I'm quite impressed with how they're going. And really, this week, for me, they could probably treat it as almost a bye week and put a few people in just to give them the legs.
That's the difficulty. So if you're a punter, for instance, I mean, do you think that they're going to just take it that lightly because of the amount of problems?
You can't take any game lightly in professional sports. I think we know that. But there is still going to be those couple of individuals that may be able to hold their hand up and say, do you know what, give me a bit of a rest this week, because and probably be able to do it, maybe even on the defense side and save the legs, maybe, because what have the Giants got to throw the ball at?
True.
I mean, but you look at this, you know, Denver Bronco team and you say, okay, give me a rest. Denver Broncos coming off their bye, that means they have 12 weeks in a row that they have to play in the National Football League. So I'm sure they will want to come and get that game done and dusted as soon as they possibly can. But what you talked about, Sam, is, you know, guys, you can't look down on anybody in the National Football League. You better show up and be ready to do what you have to do. But 2 teams that have to do what they have to do and be ready: Indianapolis Colts, the Tennessee Titans. These are 2 teams that are in the AFC South. They are 2 teams that are tied for second, which are, you know, 3 teams that lead in that division tied for second place, as Houston as well. Jacksonville is controlling it right now. But, you know, I look at this game with Tennessee and Indianapolis. You know, Tennessee having quarterback problems with Mariota being injured. Indianapolis, we still haven't seen Luck. They have a bye week coming up soon, so we might see Luck after the bye week. Before I look at both of these teams, and for me it says what you got to do as a squad is you got to hold on, you got to stay within reach of Jacksonville until your man at that quarterback position gets back.
Yeah, I think Chris Ballard's done his first year GM at Indianapolis, done a really nice job of building that defensive front, and that's a key. They're keeping in games, which is really important. They obviously got Jacoby Brissett, who's pretty much a game manager, but he seems to be growing into the role. He sees the field really well. I'm surprised, actually. You know, last week I said that the Colts defense was probably the worst. Actually, you delve into the stats a little bit more, they've done a really nice job of stopping the run this year. You know, they've had less than 4 yards per rush. They come up against a Tennessee team that have got 2 premium rushers in Henry and DeMarco Murray. There's a real strength on strength this week, and it'll be interesting to see. Tennessee did an awful job against Miami of game planning. They didn't rely on their run as much as they should, and they're going to have to this week.
But they have to do a whole lot better at that quarterback position for Tennessee with Matt Castle, because Matt Castle was, you talking about atrocious. Matt Castle was throwing rocks at atrocious.
Yeah, he was, and they weren't catching him either.
Yeah. But you look at the Indianapolis Colts, with Bissett in there at the quarterback position. They have the receivers. You got Gore in there, at that running back position. Do they have enough when you look at that Tennessee? At the Indianapolis squad
for this game? Yes, I think they do, and I think we'll see the Colts go on and win this game. I think Matt Castle's getting close to man crush age territory for you, isn't he? So we'll be talking about him next week.
I like the old guys.
But yeah, I honestly, I think the Colts have got enough there to go on and win this game. I'm just a bit worried for watching this game, whether it's going to be very scrappy and
it's going to be horrible.
I think it will be. It's either going to be very horrible, or we're going to see a high-scoring game because
I think it's one that the NFL thought they would love to flex this game, wouldn't they, and move it somewhere else. But a lot depends on whether Marcus Mariota's coming back. I don't know what the details are with that. If he does, then Tennessee are favourites.
I would think if I'm the NFL at this time of the season, this is not a game I would be thinking about flexing. If it was Tennessee against somebody, the Cleveland Browns from a complete different conference. These two are divisions. These two guys are in the same division. There's history there. There's hate there. There's not, this is not a love contest. So we're gonna see a competitive game of guys going back and forth at each other, regardless who steps out on that field. They know we don't like them. They don't like us. We have to come up with this victory.
Who you got?
I'm going with the visitors. I'm going with Indianapolis. If Tennessee, without Mariota, they just, I'm just not feeling Matt Castle. I think Bissett has done a nice job of stepping in there and has found him a home in the National Football League, whether it is a starter or backup. For the first time to be a starter, I think he's doing a pretty decent job for the first time to be stuck out there. So for me, if I had to go, put something on, put a Coca-Cola or a Snickers bar or something on it, then I would go with the Indianapolis Colts.
I'll raise you a Snickers bar and a Coca-Cola. I'm going to go Tennessee simply because of I'm still not convinced about this pass defense of Indianapolis, despite whoever's back there, and I think they'll set up the run to work on the pass.
Okay, so the pass defense against Matt Castle. Okay, who do you like?
Not Matt Castle. So yeah, I'm going with the Colts. 100% the Colts.
All right.
Well, I'm Kev. Simon, Sam, we thank Red Zone Sports for their great sponsorship and also allowing us to be in the studio. And we thank you for tuning in. But remember this, to get ahead, you got to check in to SportsHeads.
RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Watching SportsHeads. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, but you can also hit us on Twitter, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We're trying to take the program from next level to next level to next level. Enjoy.